Good afternoon, Mustangs. Today we're going to be talking about the notes on the treble clef. So first we're going to discuss why we might use music notation to write down our ideas. Then we're going to understand the note names on the treble clef. We're going to create our own mnemonic device to help us remember those names, and then we're going to practice applying this knowledge. Let's get started. So the first thing that we need to talk about is, what is sheet music? You see an example here on the screen. It basically is something that musicians use, a series of symbols that we use to write down our musical ideas. Now, there are many purposes of sheet music, and you can decide for yourself what you think the purpose is for us, but other musicians notate their music, aka write it down using these symbols so that, first of all, maybe they can remember it better, and also so that they can share it with other people. If a musician knows how to read sheet music, they can read so many songs. And that's why we're going to learn how to write and read sheet music. So take a minute now and jot down one idea. Why do you think we use sheet music? What is the point of writing down our ideas using sheet music or music notation? These are some elements of music that we'll talk about in music this year. The first one that we're going to focus on today is pitch. It's right here. Pitch is how high or how low a note is. Some examples in daily life are a bird chirping. That's really high pitched. You can go tweet, 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 really high up there. I can't really imitate it because I'm not a bird, but that's a great example of a really high pitched sound. An example of a low pitch sound that you might hear in real life is a train horn or a boat horn, something that kind of is really low like that. Now, in music, notes that are played on an instrument can be high or low pitches as well. So let's jump into that and understand that a little bit more. So we've already defined pitch as how high or how low a note is. We use this thing called the staff, which is 5 lines that you see on the screen to help show the pitch of our notes. You can see that the higher up on the staff, the higher the pitch, and the lower on the staff, the lower the pitch. And as I said, this is called the musical staff. Now, every staff has a clef. It's kind of like a decoder. So there are these 5 lines, but depending on what symbols put at the very beginning of the staff, we read it differently. This one that you see here is called the treble clef, and it is the most common clef. It's not the only one, but it's the one that we're going to talk the most about. And today we are going to learn how to read the names of the notes on the treble clef. Super excited. Are you ready to get started? So first we're going to talk about the lines of the treble clef. You'll know that a note is on a line if the line goes right through the center of the note. So you see the note, it looks like a circle. If you see the line go right through the middle of the circle, that means that the note is on a line. And these are the letter names of the notes. It just helps us to have some common language to talk about these notes. And so you can see that we call them E, G, B, D, F. Now that's kind of hard to remember. So we oftentimes use something that we call a mnemonic device to help us remember the order of these letters. You'll hear this one very commonly: every good boy does fine. You can see that the first letter of every word in this phrase matches up with a letter that of the name of the note. So every starts with E, and E is the letter name of the first note on the bottom line. The second one, good, starts with a G, and you'll see the second line up from the bottom is called a G. It's pretty handy. Another one that you may hear is every good bird does fly. And my personal favorite, a little goofy, elephants got big, dirty feet. So you can use any of these to help you remember the letter names of the lines on the treble clef. One really important thing to remember is that we always start from the bottom, going up. You can actually use your hand to help you remember these 5 lines because you have 5 fingers. Pretty cool, right? You always want to start from the bottom and go, every good boy does fine. You never ever start from the top. You always start from the bottom. Every good bird does fly, or elephants got big, dirty feet. Remember, we always start from the bottom and we go up. Now it's time for you to create your own mnemonic device for the lines on the treble clef. You want to pick 5 words that start with the letters E, G, B, D, and F. You're going to go ahead and put it in now into the Edpuzzle. Now that you have your mnemonic device to help you, let's do some practice problems. So we need to figure out what the name of this note is. We know that it's on the treble clef, and we know that we can use our mnemonic device, starting from the bottom line and going up, to help us figure this out. First, we need to think of our mnemonic device. My personal favorite, elephants got big, dirty feet. And then what we do next is we start from the bottom line and we count up until we get to the line where the note is. Remember, the note is on a line if the line goes right through the middle of the note. You can see here, this is the first line, and this is the second line, and we would stop there because this is where the note is. So let's get our handy dandy hand staff ready. We're going to start from the bottom, start from our little pinky finger, and we're going to use our mnemonic device. We're going to say elephants got, and we're going to stop there on that line because it's on the note is on the second line. Elephants got. Now, got starts with the letter G, so that must be the name of the note. This is called a G. Got it? Let's try a couple of practice problems here. So here's example number 1. Use your hand staff and your mnemonic device to figure out the letter name of this note. All right, let's do it together. Elephants got big, dirty. We stop there because it's on the 4th line. And dirty starts with a D. So this note is named D. Up next, try this one. Okay, let's do it together. Get your hand staff ready. Elephants. We got to stop there, right? Because it's on the very bottom line. And elephants starts with an E, which means this note is called an E. If you got that right, good job. And here's our last example. Go ahead and try this one. And all together now, elephants got big, dirty feet. We go all the way up because it's on the very top line. Feet starts with the letter F, which means that this note is called an F. Really good work, everyone. If the note, the head of the note, the circle, is not on a line, if it's in between the lines, we call this a space. This means that there are lines on kind of sandwiching the note, but the line doesn't go right through the middle. And just like the lines on the treble clef, there's a way to remember the spaces on the treble clef. This one is a little bit less complicated. It spells face, just like the face that we all have. We still always start from the bottom and go up. And you can use your hand staff again and show the spaces in between your fingers. So this would be F is the first space, A is the second space, and then C and E. Let's do a couple practice problems to see if we can figure out the names of the spaces on the treble clef. This one is on the 3rd space, right? Here's 1, 2, 3, and we count 1, 2, 3. So we're going to stop when we get to here. We spell F, A, C. We stop there, and this one is named C. There's our mnemonic device for this. Go ahead and try this one out. Use F-A-C-E, or face, and use your hand staff. See if you can do it. This note is on the first space. Remember, because we always start from the bottom and go up. This first space is where we're going to stop. So we start with our F-A-C-E mnemonic device. We go F, and we stop right there because it's on the first space. So this one is called F. This, I think, is a little bit easier than the lines on the treble clef, because you just have to spell face. And so you don't have to do the whole, remember words, but let's try another practice problem. Try this one on your own. This note is on the very top space, so we're going to go all the way through the spaces up to the top. Let's get ready to say our mnemonic device. F, A, C, E. This one is named E. One more. Give this one a try. All right, let's do it together. It's on the second space, so we're going to stop right there. F, A, and we stop there. So this one is named A. Good work, everyone. When we put the lines and the spaces together, this is what they look like. We would spell all the way from E all the way up to the top F. E, F, G, etc., etc. You may notice that this is actually in alphabetical order, but we don't start with A. We start with E, and then we start over when we get to G. So this would be the ABCs if we started here. A, B, C, D, E, F. And that is all you need to know for that one. So now the question is, how do we figure out which mnemonic device to use? Because we have one for the lines and one for the spaces. So we have to figure out first, the first question you have to ask is this note on a line or on a space? Then you'll know which way to go. So let's, for example, take this letter here, this note here. We know it's an A because it says underneath, but how do we know? Is it on a line or on a space? Remember, if it's on a line, we are using elephants got big dirty feet, and you would see the line go right through the center of the note. If it's on a space, we'd be using face, kind of rhymes, helpful, and the note would be in between two lines. So for this one, you can see the middle of the note is in between those two lines, which means it's on a space, and we would use face to help us remember. As always, remember we're starting our naming from the bottom and going up to the top. So let's review what we learned today. Pitch is how high or how low a note is. Remember, we talked about birds chirping being really high pitched and a boat horn or a train horn being pretty low pitch. The musical staff, those 5 lines we were just talking about, is a way for musicians to communicate the pitch of a note using these symbols, these notes. The most common clef is the treble clef, and that's what we talked about today. The treble clef has lines and spaces, and there can be notes on both lines and spaces. We use mnemonic devices to remember the letter names for the lines and the spaces. For example, we talked about elephants got big dirty feet because the letters on the lines are E, G, B, D, and F. And our mnemonic device for the spaces is F-A-C-E, which spells face. And when you see a note on the treble clef, the first question that you need to ask yourself is this note on a line or is it on a space? And from there, you can use one of the 2 mnemonic devices to help you figure out the name of the note. So that is how we understand the notes on the treble clef. I hope that you enjoyed learning this information, and I hope you will continue to practice. Have a great day.